Welcome to the Matthew Stafford podcast here on That's Good Broncos. I'm Brandon Perna with Will Keys. Today we're gonna focus on these trade rumors about old Matty Staffy coming to Denver. They seem to be a little more real now than the last time we talked about it. It's getting interesting. So gonna focus on that and see what else happens. We'll try to keep it brief because I know I sound like shit. Nothing I can do about that. Today's episode brought to you by DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app. Use code DNVR when you sign up to get all those great offers they got. And benchwarmerbrew.com, my personal coffee company that basically, I'm proud to report we have outsold Folgers this month in total revenue. Somehow there's not a lot of profit there, according to my business partner, but I'm going to trust those numbers.
I have no reason not to.
Yep. Okay. Matthew Stafford.
Why can't someone short sell our stock and then squeeze it? Are we a publicly traded corporation?
No, but I was thinking about that today.
I think we should be. I don't know how you do that, but
what do I need to do to have That's Good Sports go public and then get rich?
We'll talk to our lawyers.
Yeah,
and our accountants who are the same.
What's happening? Just like a bunch of TikTokers are buying really low dead stock like through Robinhood.
Doctor or something.
TikTokers?
Yeah. Provides diagnoses via like 7-second TikToks.
Wow. Crazy.
It's brave new world. Anyway.
One day. I'm trying to trick people into giving me money. I just put 2 new shirts in the That's Good Sports Teespring store. We got Baby Goat and Goat. Whichever fan base buys the most t-shirts is who I'm going to root for in the Super Bowl. Because I figured, I started to really think about it. Like, I don't want to see Brady win 7. And I don't want to see the Chiefs win back-to-back. Like, I can't pick one over the other. So I said, maybe I can have a rooting interest if one fan base gives me the most money.
Yeah, I mean, it never really was. I didn't have any second thoughts about it. I have to root for the Buccaneers. My thing I'm trying my best to separate Brady from the rest of the team, because when you think about it, he was really bad in the second half.
Horrible.
And he threw 3 interceptions, and it was his defense that really won that game in Matt LaFleur. I don't know. I got a feeling, too, that if the Packers had gone for it on 4th down, they wouldn't have made it. I was just kind of my gut feeling there because the Bucs defense was, I don't know, it felt like they were really clamping down, and I just had a lot of confidence in them, and their young secondary is super, super aggressive, and it kind of reminds me of the Broncos in a way. So I'm just trying to trick myself into believing that this is, this is like the consummation of a few years of building for the Buccaneers. And not
but nobody's going to say that.
Victory for the
Nobody's
Patriots.
going to say that.
No, that's the problem. Is if we treated this like a Buccaneers Chiefs game and not Tom Brady versus Patrick Mahomes, it would be a lot more palatable. But it's not, and no one's going to do that except for maybe us.
It was, it felt like Green Bay in the red zone earlier, and then on that last drive, Rodgers getting a little too locked in on Devontae Adams. Yeah, and the Bucs defense. The other difference was, and this has happened a couple times in the playoffs for Brady and the offense, is the turnovers they've gotten have ended at like the 5-yard line. So they have like 5 yards to go. The Packers had those picks, but they were all on the other side of the field where it was just like they, just got a punt, and they,
they're kind of arm punts in a way, but I don't think they're on 3rd or 4th down.
No, and like a couple of those, I didn't know what the fuck Brady was doing. He was just like going back and just like chucking it. It's like just dumb throws too. It's not like
that one that was dropped too by Redmond.
Yeah, specifically that one.
Probably should have thrown 4. Yeah,
I don't know what he was doing there.
And all you had to do to win that game was score clearly you didn't have to do anything to win that game, but to win comfortably, all you had to do was lead like 1 touchdown drive. Maybe just one field goal, really. It would have done it. And but we're propping this up as this amazing achievement by Tom Brady, and he did play well in the first half, but it's hard to look at it like that.
No,
feel like it's
if it were
feel good about that take, which
if it were any other quarterback, they would have been criticized for those picks.
Yeah.
Like after the game, I saw 2 things several times, and I just didn't understand it. It was like Aaron Rodgers needed to do more to beat the Bucs. Tom Brady going to 10th Super Bowl, like just all about his accolades, and nothing about him playing a really bad game and
right.
Or the Bucs defense. I mean, I'm sure there's stuff out there, but like what I saw is just all this shit. And you're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
You got it. Nobody could say anything about Brady now. How could you deny anything? Well, let's be honest. Like if you want to go down a rabbit hole, go start looking at Barry McCockner's stats that he's pulling up. And as much shit as he talks, the guy finds some.
Oh yeah, he's extremely dedicated to the game
It is insane.
To the point of near mental illness, I think.
Yeah,
he's really dedicated. He's like you if you like your only job was to hate Brady.
Yeah, I also realized like after this win, I just don't care anymore.
That's my point too. Is the difference between 6 and 7 Super Bowls at this point
is nothing.
Doesn't really do it for me. It doesn't really move the needle. It's like, all right, it almost feels like fake or like imaginary, numbers we're talking about here. And of course, it's not the Patriots anymore. And, if you're someone who just dislikes Boston sports in general, which I think both of us probably do, less so than Tom Brady, or they're kind of linked up together. It puts them in a really, really difficult place, and it's fun to see them kind of have to come to grips with the fact that they let go of a Super Bowl quarterback too early. And it really was the fact that they didn't put enough weapons around him and not that he was just done.
Well, I mean, that's the other thing that I don't understand. Like, and it wasn't just that they let him go. It was, I think it's both Brady's ego and Belichick's ego. And Brady bailed on the team at the time that they could have used him the most in the last 20 years. So the moment it looked like they were going to have a rough season after they had a good season where he probably made more with less, but they got beat by the Titans in the playoffs. Brady just bounces the fuck out of town because they're not going to spend a bunch of money on free agents this season, and goes to a team that is just stacked with talent. And I started thinking about that too. Like, no other quarterback's ever done that. Like, Manning left because the Colts looked at him. He tried to throw a football and they're like, you're never going to play again. We're moving on.
Yeah. Joe Montana left
because Steve Young was coming up. Who is the other one I was thinking of? It was like no quarterback willingly just pieced the fuck out and went to a better team because he was old and still good. It's like an unprecedented thing. And I'm not saying I wouldn't do it, but the fact that Patriots fans aren't like upset by that also kind of blows my mind.
No, they're just totally like, they're stuck like worshiping the guy basically. And
yeah, I mean,
they're like, I don't know. There's someone who got dumped who hasn't found another long-term partner yet. And so they're still fixated on the last guy who was there, which is Brady.
Yeah.
And if like Cam Newton had come in and put together like a solid 10-6 season, it wouldn't be such a big deal, but they're really bad this year.
Yeah.
Which makes it all funnier. And I think though, the reason that you and I are upset with this matchup is like last year, the Chiefs won the Super Bowl, but kind of the bright spot of the playoffs is we felt like both the Patriots dynasty and Tom Brady were over in that wild card game against the Titans. Logan Ryan picks off that pass and runs it back for a touchdown. Like, all right, the Chiefs won, but on the bright side, we never have to worry about this team again. In this iteration, at least, and we were fooled. We were sold the bill of goods. We were wrong, and now, not only do we have to deal with that team, they're playing the other team we hate the most, and no one comes out on top in the Super Bowl. We're both losers, but
welcome to Losersville.
I think everyone who likes our favorite team is also most everyone is going to be rooting for the Buccaneers. Lesser of two evils, obviously. Not you though, maybe.
I don't know. I think Tom Brady, unless he retweets my Alzheimer's charity tweet, remains evil.
Not denying that.
It's hard for me to separate the two because I respect the way Patrick Mahomes plays quarterback, and I just have never fully respected.
Do you really respect the way Patrick Mahomes plays quarterback?
Yes, I do, Will. Despite the couple chip shot passes he's going to get every game, he does a lot that's impressive. Is it the most impressive shit I've ever seen by any quarterback ever? No, of course not. Which one guy coming to Denver maybe can do no looks just as good as Patty Mahomes. But before we get to Stafford, Pigskin fans, the moment you have been waiting for all season is right around the corner.
Pigskin fans.
And DraftKings, the official daily fantasy partner of Super Bowl 55, is bringing back their golden ticket giveaway with up to $55 million in prizes up for grabs. All you got to do to get your share of these huge prizes is enter DraftKings free Super Bowl prediction challenge. Once you submit your picks, you will get a free instant prize up to $25,000. And if you have the most predictions correct, you could win the top prize of $1 million. Yeah, we should sit down and do that, Will. I bet we might be all right at that. Download the app now, enter the free prediction challenge, answer questions like who will score last? Me. Boom. And get ready to make it rain. DraftKings has paid out over $7 billion to its players since 2012, so they know a thing or two about big paydays. Download DraftKings now using the promo code DNVR to enter the free $55 million Super Bowl prediction challenge. Everyone gets an instant prize up to $25,000 just for playing. Wait. Everyone gets an instant prize up to $25,000 just for playing. You don't get $25,000 no matter what. You can get up to $25,000.
You might get $25,000 if you buy GameStop stock.
Yeah. So use code DNVR now and enter to win the Super Bowl challenge. Only at DraftKings, the official daily fantasy partner of Super Bowl 55. Terms and conditions and eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details. Colorado only, or maybe this isn't. Got to be 21.
You have to be 21.
Call 1-800-522-4700. All right.
Can I say a couple things real quick?
Sure. Yeah, go for it.
Whenever I hear score in that context, I just think of Beavis and Butthead.
Score.
They're like, we're gonna score.
Beavis and Butthead.
And second of all, I think if there ever was a Super Bowl to gamble on, it might have to be this one.
Yeah.
because it's the only way to like drag me out of like my kind of nihilistic coma that I'm gonna be in what's it like 15 days? Nah, it's not that long. 10 days probably.
Yeah, it's like 10-ish.
Yeah. So I'll be spending some time thinking about who I'm gonna bet on. Maybe I'll just bet on the Buccaneers so I can totally like feel good about it.
Right.
Have one rooting interest. I don't want to hedge my bets. That's kind of a loser thing to do.
No, yeah. You want to be all in on one side.
I want to go all in.
You need a good versus evil scenario, and it needs to be your financial ruin. That's the evil. So
yeah, we'll do that, and like maybe prop bets. Maybe that's something we can talk about because by the way, we're having a Patreon hangout tomorrow. If you're on the page.
Thursday night info on Patreon, patreon.com/thatsgoodsports.
Yeah, check that out. It's usually a lot of fun.
Yeah, we did a bunch in the off season, and we did one in December. I'll probably still sound like shit, but we're gonna make it work. All right. Again, I'm gonna try this. Matthew Stafford. Mateo. A couple of weeks ago, we talked about this, and we were like, but why would the Lions want to trade Matthew Stafford? Like we heard like the internet rumors that he could be on the move. Also, we were talking about Matt Ryan. Like why would you let those guys go? Like even if you want to start thinking about drafting their replacement, your team's in a pretty good spot with either of those quarterbacks. Now it's definitely going to happen. Broncos are the odds-on third favorite to land him. 49ers 1, Colts 2, Broncos 3. Those all make sense. So what I was thinking about today, and we'll get into kind of like your notes here, in terms of pure arm talent, Denver hasn't seen a quarterback like Stafford as a starter. Originally, I was thinking Elway, but then I forgot how good of an arm Cutler had.
Cutler had a crazy arm, but Stafford has a more like pliable arm. He throws off platform better. Cutler had like that pure, just like, uncut arm strength where if he's dropping back 5 steps, he can rip it 70 yards down the field. Stafford can be like rolling out and just like put the ball anywhere, which Cutler cannot quite do.
And Stafford better at throwing it to his own teammates as opposed to interceptions. Always an issue with Jay Cutler. And I think even last season, Stafford had 10 picks while also having literally the worst defense in the league. So like when people kind of get worked up about Stafford not having this winning pedigree, you could make the argument maybe has received the least help of any talented quarterback that I've watched.
And we have to remember, he doesn't have a winning pedigree, although he's had 4 winning seasons for the Detroit Lions, which is worth like 10 winning seasons in 10 years with most other teams. And he was drafted number 1 overall out of Georgia in 2009. And he was drafted by the first 0-16 team in NFL history. He was like, all right, the Lions were like, all right, who's going to right this ship? It's, I guess this guy, good luck. Have fun. You're joining an 0-16 team. Figure it out. And to his credit, like he did. By his 3rd season, he threw, I think, like 40 touchdowns and 5,000 yards. He's one of the only quarterbacks there for 5,000 yards in the season. And didn't even make the Pro Bowl that year, which is very strange.
Yeah, that's another dumb thing people
Drew Brees and Eli Manning and Aaron Rodgers that year. So just know that the Pro Bowl doesn't matter and it's stupid. You shouldn't even worry about it. All Pro is kind of a different thing.
Yeah,
but
and on top of that, like when Jim Caldwell came in to the Lions, they go 11-5 they get, to the playoffs, and of course they lose. And then they go 7-9, and then they have 2 9-7 seasons, which not great, but they're still winning seasons. And then the Lions fucking just fire him. And like that seemed like there was a good relationship there with Stafford. I felt like his play got better with Caldwell. The 11-5 season was the only time Detroit has had a top 10 defense. So like it seems also like as soon as things were kind of look like they might get better for him, Detroit rips the rug from under Stafford, brings in Matt Patricia, which you predicted would be a disaster. And I thought it was going to play out better, and I was wrong. And poor Stafford then just got shit-hosed with, bad teams surrounding him. Outside of Detroit's had some pretty good, underrated receivers. So then you go, are they underrated, or is Stafford elevating their level by being a really good quarterback? It's probably, a mix of the two. Like Kenny Galladay is good, but Marvin Jones, really good receiver. So
he played for Marvin Lewis.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
But I tweeted that Joe Flacco's Super Bowl win was less impressive than Matt Stafford getting the Lions to the playoffs 3 times. Joking, kind of like what you just said. And a couple of people like, this is the dumbest fucking take I've ever heard in my life. It's just like the lack of humor people have.
I think the rule should be that if you don't have like at least a few of those replies, then it wasn't funny enough.
Yeah, exactly.
And it wasn't sarcastic enough. So you kind of need a few of those. So
like, what the fuck are you talking about? Super Bowl's better than a playoff appearance. All right, guys. No. All right, guys.
Relax.
So,
no, you're totally right. He's had some good receivers. Calvin Johnson obviously retired after the 2015 season, so he's played 5 years without him. But he's gotten 1,000-yard seasons out of Golden Tate a couple times. Marvin Jones, and then Kenny Galladay. So he's had options. And then, he's had guys like TJ Hawkinson, Theo Riddick, even pretty good pass catching running back, but never had a 1,000-yard running back behind him.
Nope.
I don't think he had a 100-yard performance out of a running back until like 2018. It was some ridiculous stat that no Detroit Lion running back ran for 100 yards, which feels impossible, but they managed to pull it off. So basically they're like, if we want to have like any chance of winning, it's just Matthew Stafford having a massive game. So yeah. And he's got this reputation that he's stat Padford too. And he's also had just really, really bad defenses.
Yeah.
His whole career in Detroit for the most part. So yeah, he's playing from behind. And did I make fun of him for that in seasons past? Yeah, of course. But now that there's a chance that he's going to be on my team, I have to switch the narrative right now. And I'm going to.
I have to ignore that. Yeah. But I mean, like, there's probably some truth to that too, in that, like, he's not like Deshaun Watson. And people are like, because I talked about compensation. Like, I think giving up the 9th draft pick for Stafford, no brainer. Like, if it took that, I'd fucking do it, because there's nobody you're going to draft at 9 who's going to be immediately as impactful to your team as Stafford. Now, maybe a quarterback falls there long-term, that's better. Maybe Drew Lock eventually is as good as Stafford, if you're lucky. I don't think so. But to me, like, that compensation is fine. But people are like, he's not Deshaun Watson. Save all of this ammo for Watson. Like, you're going to have to overpay to get Watson. And I don't think the Broncos would be in a great situation in terms of what they would have to give up to get him. Like, they don't have the ammo. Of course, I want Deshaun Watson over Matthew Stafford. But, like, is he a consistently, like, top 10, 9th quarterback in the league? Yes, he would be better than Flacco. He's better than Keenum. He's better than Simeon. He's better than everybody the Broncos have had since Peyton Manning. And no, he's not Peyton Manning. He's not going to make the Broncos an instant Super Bowl contender. But I think it's fair to assume that they should be back in the playoffs. If they
you got to get in the playoffs before you get in the Super Bowl, unless you're the Buccaneers, I guess.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's kind of out the window now, but yeah, and that's what we're shooting for at this point. It's been 5 years since we've actually played a playoff game. That's all I really want. And, you get in the playoffs and anything can happen. I'm not saying Matthew Stafford can't get to a Super Bowl.
No.
He could. It's probably not he's going to have to get really hot and get a really good performance from a defense too, and a running back. It's got to be a whole team thing, obviously, to get to the Super Bowl. But it's not a long-term thing. He's not going to play 15 years, but it puts you in a position where you're secure at the quarterback position. And like when the Chiefs in 2013 traded for Alex Smith, just to get someone they didn't have to worry about at quarterback, then you can start looking at quarterbacks in the draft and be like, all right, who's the guy that we could find in the first round and then stash for a year, coach him up, and then when he's ready to play, you can put him in there and then either trade Stafford or let him go or whatever. Or if he's just good enough, keep Stafford. But it gives you a lot of flexibility there.
Yeah, and I think Stafford, you can expect to get 4 or 5 more years out of. He's easily got 2 years left on his deal. He's affordable there, which I talked about in the video. It's 20 and 23 million.
That's a complete bargain.
Yeah, he's costing you what
this isn't 2012.
Cost, 10 years ago.
Yeah. No, it's crazy. Good quarterbacks now are making Patrick Mahomes when his deal starts kicking in, it's going to be 50 million.
50 million a year.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's a total steal. Deshaun Watson would cost way more. Deshaun Watson's also a better quarterback, but just to talk about the trade price for getting a guy like Stafford, I saw Ben Albright tweeted that the starting point for getting Stafford would be the Jamal Adams trade, which I think Jamal Adams was 2 first-round picks, plus either a second or a fourth swapped or something, and then Bradley McDougald went to the Jets. But that's just not true. It's the Seahawks overpaid for Jamal Adams. That shouldn't be the start. The Seahawks that's not a starting point just because the Seahawks were dumb.
Yeah.
Right?
The first
everybody's okay, yeah, we agree that was too much. That doesn't mean that's where trades have to start from now. Peter King said it might only take him 2 second-round picks, which it might.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I don't think it's going to cost more than 1 first-round pick. It feels like the only way that happens is if 2 teams have to get into a bidding war to get him or something crazy, which could happen. But it seems like the Lions are willing to deal him. And that's the biggest difference between Watson and Stafford is the Texans don't want to deal Deshaun Watson. Watson wants to get the fuck out of Houston. So, of course, if they're going to bow down to those demands, they're going to get everything they can out of him.
Yeah.
The Lions
and Watson has a no trade clause too, so he gets to say where he's going also. So they have to come to an agreement. They can't be all right, fuck you, you're going to I don't know, who's a really bad team.
You would say the Jets as the joke, but that's
I guess so,
might want to go.
Yeah. But so that doesn't work. But they can't just send him anywhere. They can't send him. They can't trade him to the CFL.
No. I will not go to Canada.
Stafford, on the other hand, I think they'll just put him somewhere he wants to go out of respect.
Yeah, it's
because they have a good relationship. Obviously, him and the organization, you'd think. And I would assume too that means that while like the two major spots for Deshaun Watson seem like Miami and New York being the Jets, I would expect the Lions, just because it's like common practice to send him somewhere to the AFC, right?
Yeah, fair enough.
So that kind of puts the Broncos in a good spot.
Broncos, Colts. If I'm Stafford, I think my best fit is with the Colts, then the Broncos, then the 49ers in terms of how they run their offense, right? Like Phillip Rivers worked in Indy, and Rivers not a mobile quarterback. It's like an offense built, I feel, around Stafford's skill set. San Francisco just feels like you want more of an athletic quarterback to really maximize how they want to run that offense. You don't need that there. I'm sure Kyle Shanahan, Matt Ryan did really well. Urgency. Right. Like Matt
there's
Ryan,
not the urgency for the 49ers either. They could stick with Jimmy Garoppolo. It's not like they have to find a quarterback this offseason where the Colts do now.
Right.
And the Broncos don't either. So there's leverage there.
Yeah. And I think as critical as we've been on Pat Shurmur, Stafford's perfect for him.
I think so.
Like we said, Shurmur would be best with a veteran quarterback who knows how to attack the field properly. And Stafford, at his best, like the Lions were a throwing team. And I just think, assuming Cortland Sutton comes back healthy, which is a big part of it, assuming Jerry Jeudy takes a step in his second year, then you've got real offensive weapons. We were so excited about all those guys before the season started. And they're
still there.
They're still there. They're going to have an experienced quarterback. And I think you could see like a 4,000-yard season from Matt Stafford with the Broncos in that offense and 30-plus touchdowns. Like, it would be fucking awesome, I think.
You look at his numbers the last couple of seasons. He had 26 touchdowns to 10 picks this year, which he was fine.
Some of that, one thing the Lions did really well this season is in close to goal line situations, they just handed it off to Adrian Peterson.
Yeah.
Like they have a ton of just short rushing touchdowns. Whereas you look at like Tom Brady, how many of Mike Evans' 8 touchdowns this year were like 2-yard passes in those situations?
Or you watch Brady or you watch Patrick Mahomes and then they like do a little
little shovels, like all that stuff.
Kelsey, it's like that's their philosophy inside the 5. The Lions are like, we get inside the 5, we're handing the ball off. So touchdowns can really be kind of like relative. Like you have to kind of dig into the context really.
Yeah.
That's why mostly like you want to just look at like yards per attempt. That really I think is the one that will tell you the most. Like he was so good in 2019 before he got hurt.
Yeah.
And he ended up he was on pace for 38 touchdowns and 10 picks, and he had 8.6 yards per attempt. So yeah, it's fair to assume that you put him in Denver's offense and he stays healthy, which is, that's also an if too.
That would be the biggest concern.
He's been unhealthy and that, you got the back and all that stuff, which kind of scary, but Peyton Manning was scary too. That was uncertain. And Stafford had a long stretch where he was very, very healthy too. So it's not.
Yeah, he plays through injury too. He'll play fucking hurt.
He's a tough dude. For sure.
And this last season, Kenny Golladay was injured. So that's like his favorite receiving target wasn't in there. So that probably explains some of his dip in passing numbers. What was I going to say? The injury. Oh yeah. The Broncos gave up half the amount of sacks as the Lions did this last year. So I think it's fair to assume that he'll be better protected in Denver. Maybe part of that is Stafford takes too many sacks. Like, I don't know. I haven't watched enough of him to be like, oh yeah, he kind of doesn't feel the pressure sometimes. And we saw that with Keenum and Flacco, and it can be incredibly frustrating. But maybe he gets better protection, and he's taking less hits every year, so the injury concerns aren't quite up there.
Right, and the other thing there is you'd hope that he kind of forgets all the PTSD from playing with the Detroit Lions to the point where he's like, I have to, if like we want to win or make the playoffs, I have to play out of my mind. And maybe he can just kind of relax and be like, all right, we've got a good defense. I don't need to force things necessarily.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take fewer sacks. I'm going to kind of take what the defense gives me and then take some calculated shots. And hopefully, that works out. And hopefully the defense is good enough that he could play that way. But another thing I wanted to bring up too is that we don't really talk about like where he would want to live. And this is like totally speculative, but we're talking about
a guest room.
Yeah. We'll find
you can stay right here.
Sure.
I mean, he could take my office. I don't care.
I
know he's probably got a kid or something.
He's probably got a couple. A wife. But I don't know. Like, he's a guy who grew up in Texas, chose to play college football in Georgia. It's like, where do you think he would want to live? Like San Francisco or somewhere like Indianapolis or Denver?
Yeah.
And I don't know the guy, but it seems like, yeah, it seems like he'd want to live somewhere like here more. And you saw his mansion too, like his sprawling mansion. He seems like a guy that likes space, and you don't have a lot of space living out in the Bay Area necessarily.
No. You probably can find that space
pretty far away.
Yeah, you can find that space in Indy for sure. You can find that space out here. It's just a little pricier than Indianapolis, but I just looked. Sometimes when I'm bored, I just look at the most expensive homes on Zillow, and there's 23 acres out here in like a $2 or $3 million home that I'm sure would do him just fine. Yeah,
he sold his or he's got his on the market for $6 million.
This house wasn't as nice as his, but
yeah, what are you gonna do?
You can get the space and you can rebuild, Matt.
I mean, this is also me trying to talk myself into it.
Yeah.
Too.
Well, and the thing is, the Broncos have to want him as well, and we're not sure their interest level is. But if anybody is going to know with certainty that Stafford can improve their team, it's their new GM in George Payton. Like he GM'd in the same conference as
he GM'd against him.
Yeah, he GM'd against him personally. So he's seen Stafford. He knows what his strengths and weaknesses are. And if he decides the Broncos don't want to pursue him, I'm going to trust that decision as well. You know what I mean? I like Stafford, but I don't watch all game of – I don't know if I've watched a full Lions game outside of fucking Thanksgiving.
Right. That's the problem is you don't really get to see him very much because they're not on prime time. And they usually play they play in the morning generally when all those games are bunched together. So you don't get a lot of Lions games.
No.
But yeah, I think maybe obviously if they sign Stafford, we'll go back and, we'll go into the film room and put on some tape and grind some tape.
Grind that tape just like we're watching those Senior Bowl practices.
Yeah, we'll do film breakdowns. Yeah, we should go to the Senior Bowl. I know it's halfway through, but
yeah, let's just show up.
It'd be really fun to just go and, fuck around.
If I wasn't sick, it would sound so fun.
It's in Mobile, Alabama, right? Or do they still do it there?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe not, actually.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound
Let's just go to Vegas and pretend we're at the Senior Bowl.
Yeah. That sounds better.
Kenny Golladay, free agent. Marvin Jones, free agent. So,
I actually Marvin Jones is pretty appealing. I don't think we really need it.
No, that's the thing. But I started a script. I haven't shared you yet, but it's like 5 free agent positional groups the Packers can target to appease Aaron Rodgers or to get the Packers to the Super Bowl. And so I was looking at what the Packers need, and it's just that second super reliable receiver. And I was like, oh, Marvin Jones for the price would be great in Green Bay. But he'd be like, if you were to bring a guy like that over to the Broncos with Stafford, where he has that relationship with already, and plug in while you wait for maybe Cortland Sutton to get healthy and whatever, like I wouldn't be mad at that. But the Broncos, if one position group I'm not worried about is fucking the ball catchers.
No, as long as they stay healthy, which wasn't a given last year.
Oh, and
you had Judy healthy for most of the year. I think if you put Judy and Stafford together, that's like
that's a good connection.
That's 1,000 yards waiting to happen.
And assuming it's just like I never know with knee injuries with players, like how long until they'll be right. Like it took a while.
Seems like it's shorter and shorter every year.
Yeah, it depends on the guy and it depends on the position. Like it took Chubb a little bit to get comfortable out there, and I think it'll be the same for Sutton. But like, and Sutton's not Calvin Johnson, but it's the similar style of receiver where Stafford's going to throw it up to him. And I'm not saying Locke wouldn't be that guy either, but like, I like that pairing. And I think Noah Fant would have a bigger year as well, but
yeah, I think like everyone would get involved. And it's like, you'd have your like seventh option would be Akui Bunam, who we like all think can be really, really good.
Yeah. And
it's pretty like, assuming everybody's knees stay on. Like there's so many people to throw to. It should be a really, really appealing option there for a lot of teams. Whereas like you go to San Francisco and it's like, I got some players. Of course you have George Kittle, and that makes life really easy on you, but you don't know about like, you don't have like a pure receiving wide receiver there that really gets you excited. Deebo Samuel's really, really good, but he's kind of like it's almost kind of like a specialty player. And, Ayuk seems like a pure speed guy, but I think Denver's receiving options
Denver has the best receiving options. Better than the Colts and the 49ers. The Colts, and the 49, the thing is the 49ers have such a great run game, and they should have a great defense as guys get healthy there. The Colts have a great run game and definitely have a great defense that should be even better just as another year of getting older and playing together. And the Colts have a ton of fucking cap space. Like, so not only can they get Stafford, but they could probably add some other sexy pieces. Like if they're trying to pitch Stafford, they'll be like, we're going to go after this free agent, this free agent, this free agent, and we can afford all of them.
The Colts have been operating like they have no money for the last like 3 years. Maybe they're just like saving it up.
Maybe they still don't spend it. Maybe they're just maybe they're like
they like making a profit.
Maybe like the Broncos once Manning left, the team wasn't stopped making so much money for them.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Fair. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe they're just like holding on to it, assuming that Andrew Luck will come back one day.
Andrew,
they're holding on to hope. Like, we know we need to clear $35 million just in case. Just in case. I don't know if that's a great idea. I wanted to say too that it's really good for just the market too, that you got Trevor Lawrence, Fields, Wilson, 3 guys who, we think could be pretty good quarterbacks. And then you've got Stafford and Watson, who we think are almost like definitely going to leave. Stafford's a yes.
Yeah.
Watson, we think.
It looks like it too. Yeah.
Yeah, but that, it drives the price down too. It's not like if it was Stafford and like the 2013 quarterback class where the first guy taken is Geno Smith, you probably would have to pay 2+ first rounders for him. But the fact that Watson's out there too, and vice versa, means you're not going to have as many teams bidding.
No, Watson,
down the price.
Jared Goff today. That's the new thing. Like,
well, he's going to compete with John Wolford.
Compete with Wolford, or they're going to fucking deal him.
Yeah, if you're going to start John Wolford, maybe just,
Dak Prescott's not a certainty in Dallas.
No, that's a good point.
Gardner Minshew's probably going to be sent somewhere, I would imagine, unless he just wants to stay and back up Trevor Lawrence. Ryan Fitzmagic. You got Tyrod Taylor, who John said Tyrod Taylor's going to be starting for the Lions week 1 because Anthony Lynn went over there as offensive coordinator. I was like, oh, that's actually a pretty good call. And if anybody loved Tyrod, it was Anthony Lynn.
Yeah.
Trubisky,
it broke his heart, I could tell, to start Herbert.
Yeah, there's a lot of
Trubisky. Yeah, what about him?
Flacco. I mean, not Flacco, Newton. You got quarterbacks where there's a lot of movement. I'm not saying all those guys are starters or that they're all like Stafford, but
yeah,
you're right. It's not a bear market.
Yeah, and I mean, there's like a period on Sunday too where we thought Aaron Rodgers, trying to get out too, and there's no guarantee that he won't.
No, he could go to LA or San Francisco. I could see that.
Imagine that. Him in San Francisco would actually make quite a bit of sense.
Yeah, or the Rams, either one.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he doesn't want to be that close to his family. Actually, ever think about that? Might not. LA is
all right.
Perfect.
Well, we'll keep our eye on the Stafford shit. Obviously,
we'll keep an eye on it for you.
The other thing is,
don't worry about it.
They're saying might happen sooner rather than later, which would be.
It's gonna happen soon. You can't consummate the deal. You can't consummate the marriage until mid-March. That's okay, because you can agree to terms, and everybody knows that you agreed to terms. You just can't hold the Zoom press conference until March, so who cares about that?
It's like stuff gets reported so early and pretty accurately, where I make a video about something, and then it's like a week later, it becomes official. I'm like, oh shit, I thought it already was.
Yeah.
And free agency, that happens a lot, but I will be excited if Stafford comes to Denver. I'll say that.
Yeah, I'm with you.
And if they don't get him, let's start looking at all the corners we can draft.
For real.
All right. Good night.
And John Elway didn't play with an ACL.
Goodbye luck.